In this episode of Today's Top Leaders, we hear part 2 of my interview with Earl Foote, founder and CEO of Nexus IT Consultants. He is also the co-founder of Elevate International, a project that's passionate about offering adventures, retreats, and humanitarian service opportunities to leaders. In part 1, we talked about some of the things that have influenced his life, some of the big changes he has seen in tech over the years, keeping a healthy balance of tech in your life, and how tech leaders need to keep in mind the people that make up the organization, not just the tech. You can hear part 1 on episode 8 of Today's Top Leaders. Before we dive into part 2, Earl was nominated as a guest by Linda Rawson, founder of Dynagrace Enterprises. Here again is what Linda had to say about Earl.
Well, I'm Linda Rawson, and I am the president of Dynagrace Enterprises. And I respect great IT leaders in the community. And I have noticed Earl, and I got the opportunity to be in a little mini mastermind with Earl. And what a wealth of experience he has. And in particular, he's now started his cybersecurity business, and he doesn't do anything halfway. Everything he does is so professional and just as hard as he can. And he has become one of the most knowledgeable people in cybersecurity, I feel like, in the Salt Lake Valley. Meanwhile, he also plays in a band and has a personality. So I feel like he's well-rounded and just super fun. And I'm sure that St. Patrick's Day is one of his favorite holidays because he looks Irish. So I think he's just a great pillar in the community and has a lot to offer as far as knowledge and as well as balance. You know, being able to have a little bit of fun while you work.
And now, part 2 of my interview with Earl Foote.
The interesting thing is you talked about the development of technical knowledge and skill set. And while that's obviously very important within a technical organization who, is continually trying to innovate and improve products and services and that type of stuff, the reality is, and I think I can say over 22 years of experience in history, what's been most pivotal to us is people developing themselves as people, them developing their technical capabilities, important, right?
Yeah.
But what has been most pivotal and has driven the most results and most growth is people developing themselves as people.
Awesome. Yeah, I can see that for sure. I was curious, again, because you've been in tech for a while. What have you noticed is the biggest, I guess, in relation to technology careers changing? What is it you're seeing that's changing with that? And then obviously the people aspect of it too. But overall, what are you seeing with the changes in the careers?
Yeah, really good question. I guess, and I don't know the development, coding space like I do our space, infrastructure, cybersecurity, cloud type of stuff. So I'll speak more to that. And what I'm noticing is that there's been a massive shift, particularly just in the last few years, from an IT generalist who can get the job done to somebody with very specific IT skills that also has a significant amount of cybersecurity and compliance knowledge and can really help businesses navigate the new landscape of what it is to do business and secure data in today's environment, right? So, the majority of new relationships that we engage in now and have for the past few years, they are established on a premise of an organization that needs to improve their compliance and or security posture. We're noticing a significant shift in the need for individuals that are adequately qualified and educated in those realms, and honestly, a shortage. It's hard to find. There's plenty of IT generalists on the market and always looking for new opportunity, but those that have really hyper-focused on understanding all of these compliance regulations, NIST and GDPR and CCPA and HIPAA and PCI, and SOC, and really understand the intricacies of these things and how to effectively implement those, effectively manage and monitor them while having a robust data security practice within an organization is getting more complex. Honestly, you need people who are more educated along these lines and these realms. And so, yeah, that's what we're noticing in our industry. And we're consistently looking for those types of candidates to add to our team because the pace of evolution right now there is so quick that it's difficult to keep up.
Isn't that interesting to tie it back to the people development stuff we were just talking about? There's a fair amount of people who are like, whatever, like, I just want to grow in technology, right? Like, I don't care if I'm better at communicating with my coworkers. I don't care if I'm better at the mindset stuff, right? Like, I just want to be good at the tech side. But what I'm hearing is like, it's this combination, like a two-step thing that's going on here. It's developing yourself in your interpersonal skills and then also the tech side too, right?
Yeah, 100%. 100%. Us, for example, I guess to speak to maybe the 2 points, but we are encouraging and helping our team members certify in Security Plus, in CISSP. We're helping subsidize part of that process for them and incentivizing and rewarding them for getting those so that we increase the capabilities of our team. But yes, coming back around, being a well-rounded technical team member is a lot more in today's market than just having technical knowledge and skill set. The reality is that businesses and business leaders need people who can be impactful on the organization, people who can provide an amazing experience to their team members, like be a really good teammate, just be somebody that people want to be around, that you're fun, that you're collaborative, that you're productive, you're effective, you're producing, alongside everybody else. And, you're buoying up the team, you're raising the bar. People who are, again, growth minded, who are consistently looking at ways that they can improve themselves and the role that they are executing so that they're having a greater impact and driving the business forward. That's the type of people. I mean, honestly, those are the things that are really important, integral part of our culture here. But when we interview and look at new candidates, looking for the signs of a growth mindset are things that, some of the first things that we look for. It's very, very important to us. And I think for any tech business.
Sure. Although I've been in this whole career development space for 22 years, which is funny. You started Nexus 22 years ago. But anyhow, it doesn't necessarily exist everywhere, though. There are a lot of environments where maybe the employees want it, but if the leader doesn't embrace it themselves, it's not championed to have that growth mindset. I mean, perhaps a growth mindset on the tech knowledge, but not in, like you said, be a fun coworker, add to the team, in a way that it makes it enjoyable to be around you. So
100%. Yeah.
Yeah. So you'd think it would be a universal thing out there with all the companies, but it isn't. It isn't.
No, and you're right. It has a lot to do with culture. But for me, I think the nature of the human condition, and probably it goes back to paradigms and DNA that are rooted in us because of different times when survival of the fittest was a very real thing, right?
Yeah.
And I think we have this nature of we get inside our comfort zone and we don't want to expand outside of that because it's scary or, change is difficult. That sort of mindset, a scarcity mindset or a limited mindset, becomes very dysfunctional within an organization and can really bottleneck and cap the capabilities of an organization. But when you get a team who the majority or all of the team members are really just like, let's just thrive, let's grow, let's do something amazing and really cool together, and let's have a really cool vibe, and dynamic among the team. And, we're going to have to recognize along the way that we made some mistakes and we're going to have to work on those mistakes, and that I personally make mistakes, right? That type of environment is what I enjoy working in. It's what we really try to foster. But you have to have leaders who are consciously trying to infuse that sort of culture into an organization for it to work. If you don't, I think that you have the majority of the organization is going to fall into our human nature of, I'm just going to do what's inside my box.
Yeah, absolutely. I know I wanted to ask you about what your thoughts are as far as what you're concerned about in regards to career development in the tech sector these days. And you're kind of touching on it a little bit right there too, but are there other thoughts you have about what you're concerned about on that career development side?
I think for me, really, it centralizes around whether or not the current institutions that are focusing on producing technical talent are giving adequate focus to the evolving landscape, right? Which is really focusing in on cybersecurity and compliance practices. For people who are entertaining a career in technology, right? And maybe they're deciding that the infrastructure side where we are at, right, is more suitable to them. I would definitely encourage those people to look at organizations that can help educate them to really be standout candidates in those areas. We are not seeing enough talent produced right now, driving the market. There's a scarcity. And so those people are able to demand better salaries, which is great, but it makes it harder to find those individuals to be able to pay them and be competitive in the market is more difficult. So having more well-trained, well-educated cybersecurity professionals and compliance professionals in the marketplace is absolutely needed. There's not enough to cover the need that we're seeing in the marketplace. I think some of these other principles that we've been talking about of what make good team members, good leaders, maybe I'm wrong, but sometimes it feels like they're dying arts in our current society. Sometimes it feels like the predominating tone is more revolves around enablement and entitlement, and less around I'm going to be a very productive cog in the system, right? I would encourage up and coming individuals who are looking at getting into this arena to think about how can I be the type of teammate that my team members want to work with, and how can I be of great value to the organization that I am serving, right? Obviously, that organization needs to also serve my purposes and reward me and recognize me for significant contributions, which, is the role of leadership. I would encourage people to think about how they can be impactful on the lives of those around them and on the business that they're working in.
Mm-hmm. I love that. That's so good. It's such good stuff, Earl. I think you and I could probably go off for about an hour on the whole enabling stuff.
Yeah.
That's like a thing. It's totally a thing. And I remember years ago when I started hearing about like these participation award things that were happening in school and in little community, whatever things. I'm like, what? Huh? They didn't all win. There was one kid that got across the finish line first. That kid, the first place. Like, what? Why is it they all have to have an award just because they showed up? Like, and so anyhow, I probably should bite my lip, but it's a thing.
Not to disparage or stereotype or generalize in any way whatsoever, but you and I think, are both parents of some millennials and Gen Z kids. And I think as parents of those generations, we're beginning to realize that as a society, we've probably done some disservices. And look, our parents probably feel the same, and their parents probably felt the same, right? That we probably enabled or entitled too much. And as so, we've done a disservice. Fortunately, I think that there are, you see kids, and we have plenty of millennials and Gen Zs that are part of our team here at Nexus IT that are amazing people, amazing, very productive, hardworking people. And they have very good mindsets, right? But sometimes I fear for those generations and my own children in those generations, their own thought patterns, their own, work ethics and stuff like that. Sometimes I cringe.
Yeah, I know it is. It is a cringeworthy thing for sure. But like I said, before we go too far down that rabbit hole, because we could go off for a long time. So if you were to sit down with somebody to have a one-on-one mentoring conversation with them, this is somebody who wants to grow in their tech career. What are some key things that you would want to impart upon them? What would you really want them to know so they can grow that great tech career?
Good question. And I think we've talked about a lot of this, and I don't want to beat a dead horse, but for me, certainly I would talk to them about the need to grow technically, to evolve and improve their technical skill set and their knowledge. I would focus more on who they are as a person. I would focus on them being authentic and genuine and real, and building real relationships with people around them, their team members, their clients, their partners, family members, whatever it might be. Again, thinking about these things of consistent personal and professional development, consistently raising the bar, improving yourself, improving your organization, finding ways to add additional value and additional efficiencies and all that kind of stuff. Those are, I think, the type of things I would try to impress on people's minds, that being the most talented technical engineer out there in the market, frankly, doesn't mean you're going to land the most amazing job. If you're an awful teammate, you're a horrible human being to be around, and you're not productive, you can't produce. And look, the reality is modern business, you have to produce. We all have to produce. If you can't do those things, it doesn't matter how much technical capability you have, you're probably going to struggle in the marketplace. But if you can be a really well-rounded, cool, amazing human being, that contributes in a significant way, plus you have amazing technical skills and talents, awesome. You're going to thrive.
Yeah, perfect. Perfectly said. That's awesome. Mentoring happens through conversations with people, happens in a team building and whatnot. But if you were to throw maybe a book into the mix, what might be a book that you would say like, oh, this is a gem. This is going to be the thing that's going to give you some good stuff. Is there one book that you liked the most?
Yeah, in the past couple of years, I think one of the books that I found to be the most impactful and that I've really tried to encourage the majority of our team to read is Winner's Dream by Bill McDermott, which has ultimately a Utah tie, and that's how I became familiar. Bill McDermott is the CEO of SAP, of course, a SaaS company based out of Europe, but the SaaS company that acquired Qualtrics here in Utah. I really resonated with his book and his style and his storytelling and his grittiness and the fact that he, like myself, grew up in a blue-collar family, blue-collar neighborhood, didn't come from any sort of privilege, and earned his way to a CEO of one of the largest global organizations in the world. I just really, identified. And I think he, along the way throughout that entire journey and the story through the book, he displays these values that I've been talking about today that are very important to me as a person. And so, yeah, it's one that I do try to get all of our team members, particularly when they come on board, when they sit down with their CEO training with me, I recommend and ask they at minimum listen to that book on their commute for a few weeks because it's very entertaining. It's a fun book anyways, in my opinion. One of the ones that I've really enjoyed and was engaging for me in the last couple of years. An amazing amount of wonderful principles and mindset and values that come out of that book for me.
Awesome. That's so good. I love that. I love it. So let's take a second to brag on your team. What's something that's going on really well that you like, we're killing it in this spot here at Nexus IT?
Yeah, I'm glad you asked the questions. We've been on a journey of collectively raising our own bars, internally for a long time. It really feels like over the last 18 to 24 months that things are really, really starting to click with our team. Like we've made a lot of good strides, over the past decade or more. We're really humming as a team and like the team gels well together. They seem to be buying into and living a lot of these principles and values that we're talking about in our core values as an organization, just being very open-minded, collaborative, and ultimately in the end, part of what we teach within the organization is that really we serve three different entities. And those are, first and foremost, our clientele, second, our teammates, and then the organization as a whole. And that's kind of the tripod that holds the whole thing up. We've just seen a really concerted collective effort for the entire team to really buy into all of that and make sure that our clients just have an extraordinary experience every interaction they have with us, and that they're also providing a great experience to their teammates because, they're contributing and everybody's spreading and sharing the load throughout the team. That's really translated into us gaining a significant amount of traction and momentum in the market over recent years. It feels like our sales and marketing engines are just clicking on all cylinders, consistently producing the results that we're looking for. And our client service teams and everything are doing the same. And that consistently is leading to a lot of really positive feedback from our clients, really positive reviews, new opportunities and accolades and, that kind of stuff. We feel great about where we're at. We're not perfect. That's something we teach. We can never, particularly in technology, like you can't ever sit on your laurels and just think, hey, we're just cruising along here. Like we don't need to do anything anymore. That is 100% the recipe for getting disrupted and becoming irrelevant in the marketplace. So we're consistently looking for ways to improve and innovate and provide our clients and our team with better experiences. And yeah, it feels like that's all kind of clicking on all cylinders at the moment.
Nice. Oh, are you having a proud dad moment over there?
Of course. Yeah. I mean, it's finally, after 22 years of pouring, blood, sweat, heart, and soul into this stuff, it kind of feels like, wow, it's what I really envisioned. Mm-hmm. After 2 decades is really kind of marching the way that we've really wanted all along.
Awesome. I love it. It's so good. And for those of us companies out there that are taking advantage of what you have to offer, it's like, yay, good. Because we all need that, right? We need good company. It's like you kept saying before, the market compliance is needed. And that's not just because you as the owner of Nexus is saying this is what's needed. It's because your customers are saying we need this and we need the tech community to level up and understand this so you can help us navigate this stuff. And so it's awesome. It sounds like your team's gelling really well. So then you're growing that collectively together.
100%. Yeah.
Yeah. So good.
It's a neat experience to be part of, honestly.
Yeah, that's awesome. Well, good. Proud on you. That's great. So good.
Thank you.
So as we're wrapping up this conversation here, what would be your last bit of wisdom that you'd like to share with our listeners?
Very good question. I would just say, I think if I can share anything, it's to always be open. Always be open and vulnerable as a person. This has served me very well in my personal and professional life. And that is just being willing to recognize that, hey, I'm not perfect. I got things that I got to work on. And I don't need to be perfect tomorrow. And I don't need to be perfect when I'm 99. But if I can recognize that I have some areas for improvement and I can make small strides one step at a time, I'm going to be happier as an individual. I'm going to increase who I am. And I'm going to increase the impact and the influence I have on those around me, which includes my team and the organization that I serve. But first and foremost, the influence that I have on my most intimate relationships. I don't know if that makes any sense, but hopefully that's useful.
Yeah, no, it does. It really does. Thank you. And I appreciate you talking to the whole of who we are as individuals. Again, it's not just tech. It's all this other personal stuff and what's in our heart that's really valuable as well.
Yeah.
It's good. It's good stuff. Earl, thank you so much for coming on the podcast today. It's been really great to have you to chat, and I appreciate you coming on and joining me here at today's Top Leaders.
Jen, this has been great. I really appreciate the opportunity. So much fun. Thank you for the conversation.
Yeah, thank you. I appreciate it.